In today's society, diversity has become a very important topic. During recent years, women have come together, fighting harder than ever for their right to be seen and treated as equal to men. While the approach to equality is constantly evolving, even the younger generation is still exposed to gender stereotypes and inequalities. Nowadays, differences in treating women and men are still visible, especially in the labor market, but also in many other spheres of life. But gender equality should not only be a universal human right, it is also the foundation of a sustainable world in which people will live in peace and prosperity. So, in this video, we will discuss the challenges with gender inequality, its consequences and possible solutions. To understand the topic a bit better, we should start from some facts about the issue. You probably know that women and girls make up more than half of the world's population. However, it is also true that they often live in poverty and hunger to a greater extent than men. They are also often exposed to the effects of the climate change and deprived of a medical care. And to help us understand the issue, the World Economic Forum published a report on gender equality in the world. Within the report, experts were assessing 4 areas: political participation, access to education, health conditions, and career opportunities. Before the COVID-19 pandemic, it was predicted that the gender equality would be achieved in around 100 years. But in 2021, after the year of the pandemic, it was estimated that it will take not 100 years, but more than 130 years to be able to talk about equal opportunities for men and women. It was also presented in the report that the health crisis and the related economic downturn hit women more than men, which, as a result, started reopening the gaps that have already been closed before. Okay, so now we know that the problem with gender inequality is actually bigger than we might thought before. Now, let's try to identify some of the causes of this issue. First of all, it might be a result of the way how we were all raised. There are plenty of external factors that were affecting, but are still affecting now, our behaviors, values, and beliefs. And for this reason, many parties may have caused the growing gender inequality without even knowing it. We grow up in an environment which creates a set of learned social norms. Those norms structure the behavior of both girls and boys and form their perception of social reality. From birth, people learn behaviors, attitudes, roles, and activities. All of those correspond to characteristics defined by belonging to one gender or the other, developing gender identity and gender roles. However, as a consequence, they might generate different stereotypes about each gender, and those stereotypes later affect our behaviors and perception of other people. Moreover, the school has also a huge impact on the perception of each gender. The education system is still often maintaining the differences through diverse social interaction processes. Additionally, the language used in schools and textbooks has a key role in shaping cultural and social attitudes. The solution to this is a gender-inclusive language in which no gender is privileged. However, there are still many broadly used textbooks, especially in developing countries, where such language is not implemented. Finally, another cause for gender inequality is media. They sometimes present the stereotypical cultural models based on the ideals of men and women which do not correspond to reality. As a result, they affect the general perception of both genders. Okay, so we have just discussed some of the possible causes of today's gender inequality. Now, let's see what are the consequences that result from them. We need to remember that working on the equal opportunities for all people could have a huge impact on the development of economies and societies. However, women still face difficulties in all areas of their lives, including, for example, politics, workplace, education, and violence. For example, women in leadership roles or influencing political decision-making are still rare. Only 26% of all parliamentary seats belong to women, and this shows that the level of gender equality is the lowest in the political sphere. However, it is also combated the slowest in the economic areas, which makes them equally or even more problematic. In European Union, only a bit less than 8% of CEOs and members of management boards are women. Moreover, globally, women earn an average of 24% less than men for an equal job. In developing countries, women make up the majority of unemployment, and up to 75% of them work illegally. And we should also remember that the gender discrimination still exists, both in large corporations and in small local businesses. It should be also mentioned that the gender gap persists in the field of education, for example, in the preferences for the choice of subject. While women are more likely to get higher education than men, they usually graduate in the fields associated with the traditional female roles, such as care. But globally, in the fields such as science or engineering, there are still fewer female graduates. Finally, the violence against women still affects all countries. Worldwide, every third woman have experienced physical or sexual abuse by a partner or some other person. So we can see that the consequences of the gender inequality are really serious. And even if we are not aware of them, they are constantly affecting our everyday lives. Now, let's discuss what are the possible solutions to this problem. The key to maintaining gender equality is the correspondence between the messages issued to people and especially children. For this reason, it would be useful to promote consistent messages that eliminate gender inequalities through families, schools, media, workplaces, and governments. Moreover, the implementation of a new legal framework is an essential step. This would include, for example, a more concise framework on equality in the workplaces. The fight against harmful practices toward women would also help to end gender-based discrimination. Another solution that is in the hands of governments of all countries is to work together to ensure that all women and girls have access to education, healthcare, and decent work. Providing women with access to those spheres and allowing them to participate in political and economic decision-making will strengthen sustainable economies and benefit societies and mankind as a whole. Okay, so we have just talked about the solutions that can be implemented by the countries and its governments. Now, it's time to discuss what we can do to achieve gender equality and reduce the gender gap. First of all, we should all start by considering if we ourselves treat boys and girls differently. Try to think, if you have the same expectations of them, do you have the same assessment of their results, actions, or maybe lack of them? You should also be careful not to reinforce the gender stereotypes, for example, by suggesting that girls or boys should behave in a certain way. On the contrary, we should all emphasize that everyone's personality consists of many different characteristics. And please remember that changing your personal attitude is one step towards changing a social attitude. Our example and behaviors affects to some extent our families, friends, and other people around us. Another thing that we can all do is to follow and support the actions of various organizations that focus on lifting women up. Some of the examples of such incredible organizations are the Global Fund for Women and the United Nations Women, but there is also many more. Such institutions are fighting for women's rights, educating people on the topic, and they are also giving us the possibility of supporting them. So I would like to encourage you to just check them up and try to read more about the actions that they organize. You can find the links to those organizations and also some other resources in the description down below, so feel free to check them and learn more on your own. Okay, so we are slowly approaching the end of the video. I would honestly love to hear your opinion on the gender inequality in the world. Also, please let me know if you enjoyed this video by giving a like or commenting below. I will be posting new videos every Friday at 5 p.m. So if you would like to hear about some other global issues, make sure to subscribe to my channel to be notified whenever a new video comes. Also, make sure to check my other videos where I discuss the problem with hunger and lack of internet access. I wish you all a lovely day. See you in the next video. Bye bye!